the coolest. No, you're the coolest. No, you're the coolest. Okay, I'm the coolest. Yeah, I agree.
This week on the BiFrost Bridge Podcast, we're looking at a new Netflix series and their take on an old comic book hero, Daredevil. Now, when it comes to comic book TV shows and movies, it seems a lot of time is spent on backstory or origin stories. And I know they have to do it for the people that don't know the history of the hero, but for the geeks and the die-hard fanboys who have been reading the comic book forever and desperately waiting for it to come to TV or movie, it's kind of usually a waste of time. Unless they make changes to the backstory or origin, then it is definitely a waste of time. So in the case of Daredevil, Netflix, working with Marvel, didn't spend a lot of time on the backstory, so I won't either. I'll just say Daredevil is a blind superhero, and he has heightened other senses due to an accident as a child. He has a super radar-like sense that allows him to sense moving air patterns, changes in temperature, human pulses, and heartbeats from a distance. He can basically sense and is aware of everything around him, including like if a fly in the next room changes direction, he knows about it. He has enhanced senses that make him like an excellent athlete, a master acrobat, and a super Olympic level gymnast, and probably beyond Olympic level. And you say, what is beyond Olympic level? Comic books are beyond Olympic level. So yeah. Now he was trained to fight as a youth, but trained like almost to ninja level quality fighting. He's that good. But he doesn't have any superpowers. He has no super strength. He's not invulnerable. He doesn't have a super healing factor. So when he gets punched or thrown through a window, it hurts a lot. Now, he's one of my favorite superheroes because most of his enemies are like everyday criminals. He fights mobsters. He fights corrupt politicians and officials. He fights like everyday bad guys. Now, in his civilian identity, he attempts to do the same thing as a lawyer. Matt Murdock is a lawyer, and he tries to help people and protect and take care of his city, which is New York. Now, because Daredevil fights common criminals and street thugs, there's a lot of violence. And in the comics, since the characters are drawn, you kind of have to imagine some of the fight scenes and transitions and the gymnastic things they do in your mind. And sometimes it's difficult to imagine it because it's like drawn from one panel to the next. But the awesome thing is Netflix and Marvel have brought to imagination all the things that we try to imagine Daredevil doing with this series. There's a lot of action, a lot of gymnast-type activities going on. The character of Daredevil is played by the actor Charlie Cox, who also going to play him in The Defenders as Netflix is bringing more of these series with Marvel to TV, which is awesome for all the comic book fans. But again, there's a lot of violence, there's stabbing, there's punching, there's lots of fight scenes, some more graphic than others, heads being slammed in doors, people thrown off buildings, and of course, there's the old-fashioned shootings that take place. Now, that being said, here's a question that I get quite a bit. And here's the question. How can someone who calls themselves a Christian, and when I get this question, I always assume they're talking about me. They might not be, but that's what I assume, and I know you should never assume, but yeah, that's what I do. So how can someone who calls themselves a Christian watch all this violence and still call themselves a Christ follower? And that's a great question, so let me answer it this way. For me, I'm not answering for everyone on the planet. I'm just answering for me. All I can do is tell you as I read God's scriptures and as I see his word and as he, through his Holy Spirit, speaks to me. Here is what I see, okay? There are some things, some types of movies and TV shows that I will not watch. I won't watch the weird chase you, hack off your limbs, murder you TV shows because, well, they could actually happen, and that kind of freaks me out a little bit. There is some violence that I will watch if it is not on a gorge on violence level or trying to encourage violence of that nature, if that makes sense. Now, most of the violence in Daredevil is centered around his fight scenes, and these fight scenes, or the fighting that takes place, is the level of what you would see in boxing or an MMA match, although they are more choreographed. They're like the old Bruce Lee movies you would kind of see, the fight scenes where the guy is trying to defeat a bad guy, okay? And I'm not trying to defend it, I'm just trying to explain where I'm coming from. So, one of the main reasons I don't mind watching that, and this is biggie, this is huge, is because it's not real. I in no way believe that Netflix or Marvel are trying to entice me to go out and believe I can fight like Daredevil, or to go out and engage in acts of violence like I see in Daredevil. Now, the best analogy I've heard in regards to this comes from an interview that I heard former wrestler Shawn Michaels give, and he made a statement like this. He said, guys who play Judas and the guards who put Jesus on the cross. Judas is the one who betrayed Jesus Christ, and if you've ever seen an Easter play, they'll show that kind of thing in an Easter play. And in my old church in Virginia, I actually played one of the thieves on the cross. So the guys who played Judas and the guards who beat Judas and put him on a cross at the Easter play are not the real bad guy. At the end of the day, when that play is over, they go home. They are not the real bad guys. They are playing a role. In the same way, these are actors putting on a movie. And while they are not putting on a representation of real-life events, they are bringing comic books to life with very detailed and choreographed fight scenes and sequences. Now, that being said, if there are some TV shows or movies that are not just telling a story that includes violence, but if I perceive that they are promoting violence or something else that is not cool, in my opinion, then I just won't watch. But I believe Daredevil is a TV show telling a story that includes violence. It's not a TV show about and centering on violence. And one of the side benefits is there's a story. Now, that's just my opinion. I will say this, though, and I have to be clear. If it or any TV show gets too violent to the point where the story is all about the violence, then I'll stop watching. And I've done this with other TV shows that have gotten to a point where, hey, I enjoy the show, I would love to see it, but this isn't for me. I've done it with movies that have come out that, hey, this would be awesome to watch, but there's something in it that just isn't for me. So I'm just going to have to, I don't tell other people not to watch it. You have to make that decision for yourself. Now, here's the truth. At the end of the day, I am a Christ follower, and I want to live a Christ-like life. And I have had some great interactions with people who love comic books and superheroes and love all the TV shows that are coming out as much as I do. But first and foremost, I want to honor my relationship with God. And right now, I don't feel like the Daredevil TV show is hindering my relationship with God. And as I said, if it comes to a point where I feel like it does, I have no problem cutting it. I've done it with other TV shows in the past. I've done it with movies. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on Daredevil, but again, no spoilers, because as of this recording, I still have 4 episodes to go to finish the season. So I'd love to hear back from you. Or if you have things that you don't feel comfortable doing because you feel like it will dishonor the relationship you have with God, feel free to share those as well. So, until next time, true believers.